Hello everyone and welcome. This is Alex, the architect for Back4App, and in today's video we're going to talk a little bit about Parse and Back4App. So Parse is an open source framework for creating low-code backends which are fully compatible with GraphQL and REST API calls, and also does the data validation for all your classes and objects, so you don't have to code those features yourself. This really accelerates development and ensures that your applications run smoothly and in a scalable and secure way without you having to do too much work to achieve those functionalities. So here in my screen you can see right now I have the Back4App dashboard and with two apps already created, and I have access to those two apps. And here in Back4App, distinctly from Parse, you can have two levels of access to your applications. You can be the owner of an application, and in this case you will have full access to it, or you can be a collaborator of an application, and in this case you'll have the access that the owner gave you. So for instance, if you have a company, a development company, and you have multiple developers working on multiple projects, and at some point one developer leaves the company or perhaps stops working for that one project, what you can do is suspend their access and they won't be able to even to see the application anymore. So this is very useful. To create a new application, I'm going to hit this build new app button here, give it a good name, so my company. And here in Back4App, we have multiple Parse versions. So if you have old legacy code running on your machine and you want to deploy to us, you can choose the version that better fits you. This is also available in Parse. You can have multiple versions, but it's much easier to run it from here because it's everything configured, so you can just start using right away. So I'm going to use the latest version 4.4, which is still in beta, but our betas here in Back4App are really strong and really tested through, so you can use those beta versions for production. It's very scalable and secure, so and tested through, so you can use it without any fear, because we really tested through before releasing, even if it's a beta. So I'm going to hit save and click create, and right now we are deploying your application through all the application servers and your database through all the database servers. So if at any point one or more servers stop responding, the other ones will assume that traffic and your application will keep working. This is also something that Back4App does for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. If you run Parse, the open source project yourself, you have to configure those things and understand how they work. Here you can get for free and already configured. And right now what you're seeing is what we call the Parse dashboard. Here on the left side we have all the features that Back4App and Parse offers, and here on the right side a detailed view of those features. The first feature we're going to see is the database browser. It is where you're going to store your classes and objects, and Parse already creates two classes for convenience. The user class, so you can create and log in and manage users, and the role class, so you can group users with similar privileges, so you don't have to worry about managing users in a per user basis. You can add multiple users to a role and then give or remove privileges from that role, and it will affect all the users inside that one role. So to create a new class, you can hit this create a class button here. This of course is doing it graphically. You can achieve the same functionalities programmatically using very little code, and this is where Parse shines, because we have internal statistics that shows that using Parse coming from other frameworks save up to 30% on code production. So it's the same to say that it's 30% less code to give maintenance over time and to present some kind of problems. So it's cheaper to produce an application using Parse than other frameworks. So I'm going to hit this create a class. We have a few templates here that you can choose from. I'm going to create a custom one and call it employee. When I hit create class, my employee class showed up here with a few properties already set. Object ID is a string which is unique per object inside your database, so you can use it kind of a primary key. Updated at and created at are timestamps. Those are automatically populated and updated, so you can filter by creation date or for last updated timestamps, whatever fits your needs. And ACL stands for Access Control Lists, and it means the ability for you to read or write a specific object. So our granularity goes as deep as the object level. So I can say one certain user can have access to read but not write to this specific object. So this helps quite a lot. To add new properties to my employee class, you can hit this Add a New Column button here. Here are the data types that you can choose from. Basically, anything that is JSON encodable can be stored as a property. So I'm going to choose a string and call it name. Add a column, and my name as a string showed up there. And to illustrate better what Parse can do to save time, development time for you, I'm going to add a few other columns. So add a new column, number, call it age. My age as a number is up there, and also I'm going to give a boolean and call it isActive, and add a column, and my isActive as a boolean showed up there. To start adding new objects to my employee class, I'm going to hit this Add a Row button, and once again I'm doing this graphically to show you, but you can do it programmatically as well, producing very, very little code. You'll be amazed on how little code you need to write to achieve these functionalities. So here in name, I'm going to put my name, Alex, and in my age 40, and let's say I'm active, so true. And you can see, for instance, for the boolean, it already populates with a toggle key that I can turn on and off. And also I'm going to add another employee to show how Parse does things automatically for you. So let's add a new employee called Alison. And for the age is expecting a number. So I'm going to try to type a text here, some letters. Let's see what happens. It won't allow me to type anything. It's expecting a number, so it will only allow me to enter numbers. So if I try to put a number here, like 39, it will allow me. And these validations also works for the programmatic insertions and data manipulations. So you're covered that your database is sanitized from the very beginning, because Parse knows which data is expecting and will not allow you to enter any other kind of data. So this saves a lot of time because you don't have to check this yourself. And let's say is active for Alison is false. And here in Back4App on the backend, we run MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database as our standard database. But through Parse, you can achieve relational database behaviors even in a NoSQL database. So to illustrate that, I'm going to create a new class. It will be again a custom class, and I'm going to call this class title. And here I'm going to add a string called description. And I'm going to add two new rows here. So architect and sales. So remember when I say the object ID is unique per object in the application context. So you can use this information to relate data. So back to my employee class, I'm going to add a new column. I'm going to choose the data type pointer. Pointer is how we relate distinct classes in Parse. It will ask me for a target class, where I'm going to choose title. And I'm going to add a good name for it. So has this title. Add a column. And my has this title as a pointer showed up here, pointing to the title class. So back to the title class, I'm going to copy the object ID from here and paste it from in here. Do the same for the other one. And if you notice, this data type is slightly different from these ones because this is also a button. So if I want to know which is the title for Alison, right now I'm in the employee class. If I click this button here, it will bring me to the title class telling me that Alison works with sales. If I go back and click the title that has this title for Alex, it will tell that Alex is an architect. So this data is now related and you can query on it. Something really cool that we have here in Back4App that we implemented in-house, so it's not available in Parse, the open source product, but is available for free here, is the database connections. It works like this. If you go to back4app.com/database, in here you'll find multiple databases already filled up with data that you can clone or link and then use this data for free. This accelerates development time as well because you don't have to load up data in your database for many kinds of database that we have available. You can just clone or link and it will work right away. So if you scroll down here and see more databases, you'll find over 500 databases already populated with data that you can just start using from here. So for instance, let's find this Best Buy stores. If I click here, I can see which kind of data it provides. I can even take a look at the data, see if it fits my needs. And supposing it does, and I want to use this information in my application, I have two ways to do that. I can clone this database, which will bring a full snapshot of this database to my account, so I can fully operate it the way I want. I can insert new rows, I can delete rows, I can change values as much as I want, but that will be a snapshot of this database at this point of time. Or I can connect to this database. If I connect to this, I can only read the data from it. But if the original owner of this database publishes new data in it, automatically these changes will reflect inside my application and I will have always the latest data available for me for free. So let's say this database fits my needs and I want to use this information. And I want to have it always updated, so I'm going to click Connect to API, choose my application in here. I'm going to use it inside this application that I'm creating right now, my company, and click Connect. This takes a couple of seconds. Done. If I go back to my Parse dashboard and reload the screen so I can reload my schemas, you'll see new classes showed up here, and I can query on those and create pointers, create relations, operate this as much as I want, but always as a read-only operation because I'm connected to another database and I don't have a full snapshot for operating it. So if I don't want this database anymore, I can come here to Connections and remove it. There we go. Now if I go back to the database browser, those classes are not showing anymore. Something that can dramatically change the performance of your application is indexes. When you have a correctly indexed database, this can hugely affect performance. And here in Back4App, we have a artificial intelligence that runs in the background, checking distinct combinations of indexes for all your classes, trying to match your queries in the fastest way possible. And this really does a really good job to accelerate the response time of your application. But if for any reason you think you can do better than our AI does, you can click on Index Manager. Here you have your classes, and you can create new indexes from here and test and see how it performs. We also have something that we call Cloud Code Functions. Cloud Code Functions is essentially Node.js code that runs in our cloud servers instead of your devices. And There are many benefits if you deliver your business logic to our cloud servers instead of the devices. First, because you have access to huge servers that we have in our infrastructure that can process lots of data simultaneously. So all this is very scalable, very secure, and failure tolerant, and very fast. And you can use this for free. Also, this is compatible with NPM modules, which are software packages that does pretty much whatever you need to do. So you can come to npmjs.com, find any modules that does operations that you want to do in your application, deploy to Back4App, and use this code from here. So this really accelerates the development time, because you don't have to implement all this yourself. You can just download from npm.js, deploy to Parse and Back4App, and start using right away. If you have code running elsewhere and you want to consume that code from Back4App, we also support webhooks, so you can connect to your webhooks and execute from here. We also have something that we call Cloud Jobs. A Cloud Jobs is essentially the same thing as a Cloud Code function, but you can schedule the run for those. So if you have a data sanitization process or some operation that takes a lot of time or that must be done once in a while, let's say a few times a day, you can schedule the run for those operations as a Cloud Job. It will run automatically and it can be recursive, so we can start again after it's finished and give you a job status at the end, so you can know if it was successfully run or not and why. So you can have multiple complex operations running at once, and all this for free. We also provide a few logs, but I'm going to show that in a second. But something that was really cool that we have here is the dynamic configs. A dynamic config is a variable that's delivered to the devices without you having to query for it. So imagine this situation. You have this application and in a promotional time you have to change the background color for it. Instead of querying the server and asking which color you should use, what you can do is come here, create a parameter, give it a good name, so background color. Here are the data types again that you can choose from, basically anything that is JSON encodable, in this case using a string, and put a value in here. So, and create parameter. From now on, every time I refer to my background color configuration parameter in my front end, it will assume this value here. And if I want to change those values in my front end all at once, all I have to do is come here, click it, change this value here, save, and it will be reflected in my front end on every place I reference the background color. So this makes really easy to deliver new variables to the front end without having to query the backend for it. So we have also a few API consoles that you can use for testing and developing. The first one is the REST console, which makes REST API calls. So I just created the employee class. So if I type classes/employee and hit send query, here you will see Alex and Allison, the created at date, updated at date, the age, if it's active, including the has this title pointer to the title class and the object ID for the title. So if you need information about the title, you can also retrieve that using the object ID. But what's really cool is that we are fully GraphQL compatible. So in here we have a GraphQL console that you can see your documentation already done and automatically built for you, including for the classes that you manually generate. So my titles class is here, my employee class is here, and also the schemas that you can download and integrate to your projects. And in here you can also rely on autocomplete to write your queries and mutations. So for instance, if I start type query, and let's find our employees, find our edges, and our nodes, and I want the name of our employees. If I click play, you see Alex and Allison. If I also need their age, let's type age, and here are the ages. And also I can use my has this title pointer which will give me a little error because I have to specify which property of the has this title pointer I want to retrieve. So let's get the description. So Alex is an architect and Alison works with sales. If you need to pass on query variables, you can do so from here, and also HTTP headers, you can pass them on from here. And this is quite new and very useful, the JavaScript console. In here you can write JavaScript code and run and see how it behaves, so you can check your JavaScript front-end code if you're coding in JavaScript, or your cloud code function. So this example here, I have a new class called cat, where I'm going to set the name as Mimi as a string, the age as 10 as a number, and is adult as a boolean as false. And then I'm going to try to save it and print it to the console. So if I just run this, it will give me here on the console. So if I go back to my database browser, here is my cat class with the name as a string, Mimi, age as a number, 10, and is adult as a boolean false. So as long as I define on the JavaScript console the correct data types, Parse will understand those data types and start validating from it. If you have a database that you want to share with the community, we have the Publish on Hub. This allows you to publish your own databases full with data so other users can use it and enforce the Parse community here in Backend. And we also have what we call the admin app. The admin app is a CRUD website, so you can start operating data without having to develop anything. This is also exclusive for Backend. We implemented this in-house. So all you have to do is come here, enable admin app, give it a username, so Alex. My password is going to be abc123. Oops. It will ask me for a subdomain so I can access this CRUD website. So Alex Company. Next. If the name is available, I can just click this link here. It will bring me to the Alex Company admin.backfrap.com, where I can log in with Alex and ABC123. And in here you will find the CRUD website. Here are all my classes, my employee class, my title class, and my cat class that I just created. And I can open this, and I can filter and sort results. I can add new cats from here. It will read the schemas and populate the form accordingly. If I have images, I can also display previews of images in here. But what's really cool about the screen is everything that you see right now is customizable. So if I want to show or hide classes or columns depending on the user logged on, I can do so. I can also rename classes and columns. I can change even the colors here to match your company's colors. So the whole idea here is that your end users can start operating data without you have to develop anything. So you can create reports, you can create new classes, you can allow them to fill up those classes with data while you develop, for instance, your mobile application. So when that application is done, the data is fully loaded and working as well. We can send push notifications for iOS and Android devices. We keep track of past pushes, so you have history of the pushes that you sent. And you can create audiences, so you can target specific audiences and users inside the scope of your application. And what's really cool is that inside our infrastructure, we have an MQTT broker that holds those messages until they are fully delivered to Apple or Google. So it makes it a really strong way to enforce the push notifications are delivered to your end customers. We also have a basics analytics panel where you can see the API requests that you're doing and also check for slow requests. Every time you get a slow request for some reason, you can come here and optimize code and bug code for those classes specifically, so you don't have to check your whole application. You can act exactly where it's going to be responding slow. And here on the server settings, we have a few other features to offer. First one is the logs. If you come to logs, you see the server access log, which is the HTTP server log of your application. So you have the IPs reaching your application, a timestamp, the HTTP method that is being used, which class is going to be hit, how the HTTP code, how long it took, how many bytes in and how many bytes out, so you can know how your application is behaving to your end users. But also you have the service system log, which is the logs of the containers of your application. So if your application is crashing or misbehaving, this is a very good way for finding the bug information. You can also enable a server URL and live query. Live query is essentially WebSockets. So if you activate your server URL, mine is actually already filled up because I enabled the admin app, and then you can subscribe to your classes. And every time some action happens in the classes that you are subscribed, your application will receive a WebSocket notification and you can take action on that. So this is a very, very good way for you to deliver real-time information for your end users. So for instance, if a new record is created, you can know which record it was and then deliver that information right away to the end user. We also support web hosting. So if you have a companion website that goes along with your application, you can host it in Back4App for free. So you can just upload your HTML files, JavaScript files, image files to us, and we will serve that for free for you, so you don't have to spend extra money to host those files. We also support custom domains, so you can point your domains to our Back4App with a CNAME pointing, and you can use your domain and or file servers to host your application, so you don't have to spend extra money. Last but not least, we send verification emails as well, which are fully integrated with the user class. So here in the user class, we have the email verified, which is a boolean, and if you use our email verification, it will automatically fill up this boolean property accordingly, so you can verify the authenticity of your users. So after telling you all this, and now that you know how awesome Parse is, why run it from Back4App instead of running yourself? Well, first, because it's free. You don't have to pay anything to run from us. Second, it's everything already configured and working for you, so you don't have to install MongoDB and then Parse and then the Parse dashboard to achieve these functionalities. You just create your account, again, for free, and start using right away. And we don't charge for any features. All our features are free, so we only charge you for a certain number of API calls which are targeted to development to production environments. So while you're developing, or if your application is a small application, you can run for free forever. And also we have specialists working on each area in here. So we have the best Docker guys in the world working in the Docker. We have excellent AWS guys working on the cloud systems. We also have excellent MongoDB guys working on MongoDB. So chances are, if you're going to do this yourself, downloading Parse and running it yourself, you probably don't have all the very best skills for all the very areas that you need to do. So if you run from us for free, you will get so many benefits. It just does not make sense running it yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this video and hope to see you in the next one. See you soon. Bye bye.